Motormouth Jenkins here, welcoming you to our brand new YouTube channel. Hope that you'll come back and see every segment each and every week, and I will share preventative maintenance tips and regularly scheduled maintenance tips for your car. So whether you know a little bit about your car or absolutely nothing, this is the channel just for you, where I share over 35 years of experience as a qualified and licensed service technician with truck and coach, light truck and passenger vehicles. Come back and visit us and tell your friends, and we'll see you each and every week right here in the Car Connection Workshop on YouTube. Well, welcome back to the Car Connection Workshop and our continued engine build for the 97 TJ Wrangler, which is right here. And it's going to be called Black and Red, and you'll find out why when the Jeep is completely done. It's going to be interesting. You're going to get involved on that. Today, we've done the timing chain. Timing chain and gear set is in, and now we're finishing it off so I can close this motor up. But again, I'm your host of Car Connection, Niall Motormouth Jenkins, always in the driver's seat, fully licensed, qualified automotive technician on light truck and passenger vehicles, as well as highway trucks and motor coaches and big diesel stuff. But we're playing with a tiddly bit here. This is a wee engine. Oh, look at the wee engine there. Oh, it's so cute. Anyways, I have no history on this pre-owned engine. Just that we found it through the Jeep network. The Jeep Owners Network found it, and I went and picked it up out in the Vaughan area in Toronto. But I found a little more history on this as I've been taking it apart and going through it. And I treat it as it's a brand new engine as I'm building it, because I don't want troubles after it's in. So before you do what I call a pick and drop, go through the engine you're putting in. Just as we were visiting with the Fire Chicken, and it fired up like a dream after 30 years. I put that motor in, and I know the history on it because I know who I bought it from, and a company I bought it from and bought pre-owned engines from. They pressure washed them. They verified the mileage. They did oil pressure tests. They did cylinder leak downs, and they ran those engines before they went on a skid and they came to the shop. This one, nothing. Absolutely nothing. So as I'm going through it and I'm building it up now and preparing this engine to go in one time, completely done, this engine has 125,000 K, which is not much, and I've been able to verify that from the inside of the engine. The piston skirts are clean as a whip. The bearings are clean. The inside of the engine's clean. And the only thing I did engine-wise was timing chain and gears. I sent the cylinder head out to a machine shop, a performance machine shop that has helped me out many years, and just let them go through it. And they've tidied it up, put valve seals in, reground the valves. So the head is in great shape. It's all ready to go on. But anyways, let's get into this. So here's what I've discovered. This engine, somebody was chasing a really bad oil leak. A really bad oil leak. And the reason I say that is we've ended up having to use the original pan that was on it. It had some scabies on it. And I ground them all off with a flapper wheel. And I checked it to make sure this pan doesn't leak. Because the pan that I did salvage off the original engine is not going to work with this oil pump. This has a much taller oil pump in. That's why this sump is so much bigger. And the pan is configured a little bit differently. So someone removed the oil pan on this block very, very recently. And I'm going to say probably just months before they parked it. And the fella that I bought the motor off of, he approached the Jeep. It was up in Wasaga Beach area, and he was on vacation with his family, and he was looking for a frame for his Jeep. And when he saw this Jeep sitting somewhere at somebody's house, he went to it and he checked the frame, and he's like, the frame is mint, but the Jeep was rotted out. It had rot. He said the body was done. But the frame, he showed me the frame, perfect. So that's where this motor was in that Jeep. So he got what he needed. He sold some other parts, and then we needed an engine, and that took 6 months to find one, and bam, we got it here. So here's what I know. They were chasing an oil leak, and the engine would have been in their Jeep. Now, because it has a really deep sump, that's where the oil goes down into. I got to wipe this out yet, but I didn't for a reason. The gasket is brand new. It's brand spanking new. In fact, I could reuse it, except it has not been put on right. Guys, do not install gaskets with RTV silicone underneath them. Because what tends to happen with oil is it gets under the gasket, and look at what it does. It's already starting to get soft and smooshy, and then the torque of the bolts in the pan will push. I'm not a betting man, but I would absolutely bet the first place this gasket is going to push out is either at the back here or at the front, because it's already given way. I could actually probably push it right off. Look. I can push it right off. And look how easy and how clean the silicone gives way. That's why don't put RTV silicone on underneath the gasket. I'm going to show you how I do a gasket so that you know. But that is a perfect setup for that gasket to push right out, just like I did with my thumb. Hardly any pressure. Now you got major leaks. And once that starts, it's going to come out from around the corner. Watch how easy this comes off. I'm going to pull it off now. This gasket is not a cheap gasket. It has wire in it. It's a crush gasket. You could use this gasket till the cows come home. Was that yesterday or the day before? I don't remember. But I can pull this right off, just like that. Look at this. And look at how clean it's come off. I will hardly have to do any prep work to this pan to install a new gasket. Look at how easy that comes off. This gasket is about 60 or 80 bucks. I can't remember. It's in this box right here. It was big money. Done. It's finished. Not bad. Yes, I think I could play basketball. My basketball coach said I was too short and I should not take up any sports whatsoever. All right, look at that. It's all cleaned off just like that. That's why I say you put the RTV underneath this gasket, you just created the major leak of a lifetime. So they were chasing an oil leak on this car, on this Jeep. Another reason I know. Come in here for a minute. To the back, right here. Right at the very back here. This is oil. Been coming down the back of the block between the transmission and the clutch for a long time. And I did a little bit of homework, okay? Now my hand's dirty. Why don't I use one of these blue shop towels right here? Handy dandy little jewels. Yeah. So they were chasing what they thought was an oil pan gasket leak, perhaps from around this area right here, right there, where I pushed the gasket right off with my thumb. But that's not where the leak was. I'll tell you where the leak is. On this particular engine and the straight six engines, there is a plug. Let me get a light for a minute. Excuse me. Do you have any Grey Poupon? We found the missing wand, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. We were missing a wand. I found it. Kind of like that. Do you remember the video with the spring in it? Have you watched that video? Found it! If you haven't watched that video, you got to check it out because it is funny. All right, so if we come back in here, you can see right down in there. This is the back of the engine that's going to bolt to the transmission. We even have fresh oil down here. And we have fresh oil down here. And fresh oil, look at it all packed in here. Look at it. The back of the cylinder heads leak on these Jeeps. It's not the rear main seal either. It's the cylinder head. I'm going to ask you this question, okay, all you guys, because you're going to test me on this, and I love being tested. It's okay. Why is it wettest down here? Why is it the wettest down here? What part of the engine is my finger sitting at? The bottom or the top? Where are the pistons, the heads of the pistons? Down here where my finger is. Cylinder head goes on there. So if it was a rear main, and I can hear some of you guys out there, oh, it's a freaking rear main. I'm telling you, Motor Mouth, you don't know nothing. I don't know anything, but I know something. The main is not leaking. Why do I know that? Because the wetness is way down. The wet oil is way down here. Coming out of the back of the cylinder head, coming this way. Not going that way. The main is fine. I'll clean it up. Oil, the clutch was covered in oil. The inside of the bell housing on the transmission was slopped with oil. It wasn't coming from the main. But they were chasing an oil leak, and they thought it was the pan. But it wasn't. There is a cap, a frost plug port at the back of the cylinder head. Looks just like this one here. One here and one here. And these are going to get changed. Put brand new ones in, and then I put a little bit of RTV silicone, Wright stuff. I use the black, the ultra black. That's what I use. I love that stuff. It holds. So I'm going to put a little bit of ultra, and you'll see I'm going to do the frost plugs on the engine because they're all ready. The holes are already cleaned, ready to go. We're going to put 3 nice brand new frost plugs in there, freeze plugs. So where was the oil coming from? On the back of the cylinder head is another plug, just like I just showed you, yet it's bigger. It's about like this big around. And the back of the cylinder head was absolutely soaked. So there were 2 leaks back there on the back of the cylinder head. The valve cover gasket, which is common on these 4-bangers, and also on the 6-bangers. And there's from my understanding, there's valve cover updates on some of the 6s and on these 4s. And both engines, the one that came out and this one that's going in, has the updated valve cover gasket on it. But I'll tell you what, the oil was so thick inside the bell housing portion of the transmission, I was scraping it off into a bucket. And so when I pulled the old engine out, it was sopping at the back of the head on that one, but this one too. So at the back of the cylinder head was soaking wet with oil and caked on the back of the cylinder head with oil as well. So that's where the leak was coming from. Now, we have one more thing that I'm going to share with you. And that is, if you take a look at this oil pump, there's one bolt, it's black, and there's one here, and it's silver and shiny, and it's brand spanking new, and I'm going to tell you why. Because they went to get the oil pan off, but it wouldn't come off because the oil pump pickup tube was in the way. So they couldn't get the pan out. So what they did was they unbolted the oil pump and dropped it down into the oil pan, but they lost a bolt and replaced it. That's why this one be shiny new, grasshopper. That's why. So sometimes when you're paying really good close attention, you can spot these things if you're looking, if you're watching. Okay, one more thing I just want to show you. Why do I have this covered in paper in these cloths? They're lint-free. I got an engine that's wide open here. And I've seen guys do this, and you can clean it any way you want when it's your motor, but when it's my motor, I'm doing it my way. And if I'm doing an engine for you, I'm doing it my way. Because fellers and fellettes, is that right? Do I have that right? We'll find out. But anyways, here's how you clean the block. And some guys would do this. Just going to get a tool here. And I'm not picking on you, but if you want to do the job right, okay, suck in a little bit. That's good. We'll take the whizzy wheel, and they'll just buzz down here all the way around, and you're shooting grit all inside the motor. Not a good idea, because all it takes is one grain of sand to damage a main bearing or a connecting rod bearing. No. There's a time and a place for this. No sandpaper. You do it with a razor blade. And as you clean the block, I put my hand towels there. I'm trying to catch as much crud as I can. I do not want anything going in. I'm going to use a brand new razor blade for 2 reasons. If a piece breaks off, don't push too hard. If a corner breaks off, you better find it and not just close the engine up, because it won't be long before that little piece finds a main bearing and takes it out and you got a bearing problem. Use a razor blade. Just press gently. You don't have to clean it back to its natural state under the earth's crust. You just got to get what I call the Mombi gratis out of there, the nasties. You just got to get it cleaned off so there's no scabies on there. That's all. See where the gasket is sitting? It's like a little racetrack. See where it sits? Right in there. You just need to make sure there's nothing sticking up. Don't push in towards the block. Push away from the block and avoid pushing stuff into the engine. That's why I put the paper towel there. Well, they're hand towels and they're lint free. Because why didn't I use rags? I hear somebody saying, well, I would have just used rags. Well, they better be lint free rags. Because lint and little fibers get down in that motor and get into the bearings. And once it's in there, it's going to travel and it's going to put a groove in there. You're going to lose the motor. So lint free. That's why I'm not using. I have shop towels. I have cotton rags. But this is the way I've been doing engines for over 40 plus years. And you know what? I haven't lost one yet. Not even after 30 years and not even being turned over. And I wouldn't recommend that to anybody either, is if you're putting a vehicle away, you got to, don't just leave it. You have to tend to it. You got to tend to it. Checking on it, start it up if you can, but you got to tend to it. That means making sure that, rodents aren't going to get in there and do a ton of destruction, because they will. They love insulation on wiring. But anyways, I'm going down a tangent. But this is what I do. I don't need to buff this bottom of this block till I can floss my teeth in it. I just need to make sure there's no nerdies on there. And push out again with your razor blade. And don't push super hard, because you don't have to. The razor blade will do the work. And then I go back one more time and I just make sure that if there's anything else that will come off, I want it off. Just go down there, take your time. It's not a race. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. Remember that on anything you're working on. It's not a sprint. And, sometimes your buddies are like, well, how much longer are you going to be? When are you going to get this finished? Just remember, it's your engine. It's your vehicle. You're working on it. And, some fellers will say, well, just get the thing running. And I have friends like that. And I just go, you know what? When you're doing it, you do it your way. When I'm doing it, I'm going to do it right the first time. Okay, so now what I do, I've got that scraped. I just take my thumb down there and I'm feeling for any kind of nerdies or anomalies, and it feels good. So next step, I don't spray anything in that block. So guys, if you're using brake parts cleaner, I won't even spray that inside. I don't want any chemicals inside the backside of my engine, period. I don't want any chemicals getting down into a main crankshaft bearing or a connecting rod bearing and end up destructing a motor that's healthy. So I put a little lacquer thinner on here, and this is a lint-free rag, and all I do is just wipe down the block. That's all I do. And then I follow with one of these blue sheets. I just wipe it down. Just wipe it down. Push one direction. Don't swirl. Just push one direction so that you're not pushing stuff into the block. Clean. You got to treat this engine like it's brand spanking new, and you need to treat it like it's the last one on the face of the planet. And I'll tell you, this 2.5, I think this is the last one on the face of the planet that's any good, because they do have their problems. But you know what? If you look after any engine, you look after any vehicle that has common pattern failures, if you know what those pattern failures are, or if you practice preventative maintenance measures all the time, those things don't matter. It doesn't matter. You just got to take care of it. So in this procedure, you got to take care of it. So then I just bend this up to trap anything that might be major. And then I get into these crevices here where the gasket sits. Just wipe it out. Like I said, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be able to have a mirror image there that you can floss your teeth in. Just clean and feel it if there's anything else there, and take your time and clean it off. I use lacquer thinner because it removes grease and it relieves the surface clean, and the gasket is going to lay on there like a jewel when we're done. So I'll take it the rest of the way. I'll finish it off for you. And when you come back next time, the timing cover will be on, the oil pan will be on, and I have a little secret for you when it comes to lining up the timing gears on this particular design of one chain, one crank gear, one cam gear. And I'm not sure why I didn't think about it when I was putting the gears on, because I did it a certain way for a long time, and I didn't even think about it. So I'm going to share that trade secret with you to show you how you can put the timing gear set on, even if the motor's in the car, and hold the gear onto the chain and not wrestle with it. I have one more thing to share, and then we'll wrap this up. I just quickly wanted to show you how I clean the pan bolts and how I clean bolts. So this is going to go on just like this. Voila. Maybe not with the paper towels in there, but you know, extra cleanliness, right? Cleanliness is next to godliness, they say. Okay, so we're going to move this out of the way, just like so. How do you clean the pan bolts or any kind of bolts? How do you do it and do it well and do it quickly? Very easily. I'm going to show you. I saved some for you to do. So let's put that up there a little bit. So these are the remainder of the pan bolts. Those ones are all clean, ready to go. I have two brackets because I took off two oil pans. I'm using the one that I've cleaned here. But these bolts are all cleaned, wire wheeled, ready to go. So there's no glue on them. There's no silicone residue. You want to make sure that your bolts are clean. See, like this one here, it's got silicone on the end, because whoever did that oil pan, he put enough silicone on there to resurrect the Titanic, let me tell you. So there's a half a dozen bolts here. How do I clean those? Look at how gooey they are. I don't put them back in there like that. I put my hands in my tank, and I rattle them in my hands. And watch how fast they come out clean. And then I take them over to the sink, and I just give them a quick rinse. And you watch how fast that job is done for you. And I do that with all the bolts I'm working with. I quickly just, that's just, what a waste of money that is. That was a perfectly good gasket that could have been reused. So now I just take these, I shake them, and I bake them, and I serve them to my friends. A new, nice, light snack. I call them nuts and bolts. Very fitting, don't you think? Help yourself. Have a nut, have a bolt. Okay, so I just cook them in some hot water and my hand. Darn, that was hot. Okay, and now they're ready just to whiz on the whizzy wheel. So I'll show you an example of how that works. Just go that way. Okay, ready? Here's how we do it. And you'll say, well, that's dangerous, isn't it? You know what? I've been doing this stuff for so long, I can do it in my sleep. So I just take my bolts, I clean the heads off, I roll them around, I do them all I do all bolts exactly the same way. Then I turn it around, I clean the knife off the head of the bolt. And the reason I do this is, look at all the crud in those threads. They're not going to thread in nice, and they might not seat very nice. And that can cause a leaker. And when that engine's in, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be dealing with leaks after it goes in. That's a clean bolt. All the way down the threads, there's no residue from glue and stuff. Well, there's a little something there. Let me fix that. There we go. That bolt is ready to go in. That's the name of that tune. You can do a whole bucket full of them in a matter of minutes. So when you come back next time, the pad will be on, timing cover will be on, and we'll be moving next on to installing the cylinder head. And how do we do that, and how do we follow the instructions? Because when it comes to torquing bolts and installing components like cylinder heads and your rockers and push rods and all that stuff that makes the engine run, you want to take your time, you want to do it right, you want to do it well, and you don't want to miss a single step, because when you do, it can be absolutely catastrophic. So till next time, like, share, follow, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and ring that notification bell on our YouTube channel, Niall Jenkins, and you'll be notified of our next video going up. And we're going to continue to build this 97 Jeep TJ Wrangler 2.5 Power Tech engine just for you, to show you how it's done and how it's done well. So thanks for joining us. Keep it under 100 and put the coffee on, because we're coming to your house.